How are both of you doing? So this will be my video to review the transformation and the accessories of Masterpiece MP-50 Tigatron. You know, when they announced this and they showed the pictures, I was like, that's just the Cheetor mold with a few changes, you know? But this thing's really different. The one flaw I'd point out in robot mode is the knees. They have like a weird extra joint. So like, let's lock the knees up tight. So there's an extra joint there. So that's fun. So getting him to balance is really tricky, which is why I didn't try to change his face out or something at the end of the turnaround, because just touching him, you know, I may not get him back to where he was, and it wouldn't look very smooth. That's my big complaint, is the knees are weird. They've got a double joint that doesn't really serve much of a purpose. You can see it better from this angle too, but you can see that just kind of moves independently. There's the knee joint, kind of. It's part of a transformation joint too. And then there's like this little floppy extra joint. It's a little perplexing. I don't get it. Maybe someone who's had it longer would have some idea, but I mean, the extra joint just kind of moves back. So he ends up with not a very stable knee. I mean, you can stand him, it works, but it's a little funky. The transformation's really interesting. I like it. It's quite a bit different than Cheetor. It has some nice improvements over Cheetor. I'm just going to go ahead and do the gun. The gun splits just like Cheetor in a very unexpected spot. I like to just kind of get a fingernail on this tab, but it actually unfolds here. You would think this would be part of this, and then, you know, just this sort of lid would flip up, but it's the opposite of what you might think. So keep it in mind when you go to open it. You know, it's like I just put my thumb on the hinge and I pull on the tab here, and it pops open the way you would expect. That's his gut gun, just like Cheetor. He's got a number of accessories. He's got a lot of faces. Let's go over the faces. So he has like the neutral face that I have on there. He's got a face that, like, the teeth are starting to show. The mouth is partially open. They could have just given him an articulated jaw maybe, but they decided not to. There's a different face here. It seems more of a smiling face, but it's also got a blue translucent instead of the red that I think is the default for the robot mode. And then there's a face where the mouth is more open. I mean, you could really swap these out if you could keep them still. You could swap these out and animate him talking, because basically we've got, you know, these two are progressions of opening his mouth. A little bit open, a little more open. And then there's a final head where his mouth is wide open. Although he kind of looks scared or something too there. Or like he's laughing. I guess it's a laughing face, maybe. Not really in focus there, I'm sorry. Laughing face. So he's got those faces. I'm going to put those back in the bag. This isn't mine, so I can't go losing anything. By generous donation by the Chosen Prime. And just like all of their shipping, when you buy things from them, he shipped it out right away, and it got here right away, which is nice. It comes with the a mount for the Tiger mode, it would seem. It's a mount for that armature that came with Dinobot and didn't really come with anyone else. It comes with some sort of missile pack. I'm not sure what that attaches to, but there you go. You got it. It comes with what's supposed to be like a puzzle head, a Megatron. I don't know. I don't think I get it. I don't know if it articulates at all, or if it's got a hinge or anything. Oh, I see. So I think in the series there was like this puzzle box or something that he had to solve, probably a little bit like a Rubik's Cube. And so this is that. It just, the two sides just seem to rotate. I can't find any other articulation in it. So, comes with that. and then apparently he hacked something or something. So this can fit into his forearm somewhere. I don't care. And you know, this is like the hacking probe or computer interface of some sort, I guess. Anyway, we went over that. So let's see if we can get him down to lion mode or tiger mode. Got it exactly backwards. Okay, so the head articulates. There's a bunch of linkages. They probably borrowed some design cues from Fans Toys. But it's all linked out. So when we're going to lion mode, this tab ends up fitting into the white plastic. And I'm going to end up going back to robot mode because I'm sure Brandon would want them back in robot mode. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But the head kind of nestles in. There's like a bit of a curvature to those armatures, and the head nestles in there. And then I found that I think it looks better. There's like a double linkage here. More linkages. But there's like a double linkage here inside the tiger head, and I like to articulate it up so the tiger head is up a little more. Plus it gives you a little bit of the side to side they built into it, but it ain't great. I mean, there's a hinge there, and it kind of goes side to side, but it's hard to get it at an angle where you can really take advantage of that hinge very well. But anyway, that's the head, and we can get the arms out of the way for now. Because what we're going to do is, just like in the video, we're going to just flip it over. We're going to focus on the legs. The legs are really interesting. I wish Cheetor's legs were a lot more like this, because Cheetor ended up having legs that didn't look much like a cat's legs. Didn't have the right bends in it. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and get the crotch pieces out of the way. They tab in here, very different than Cheetor, but you fold them all the way around. You want to make sure you actually nest them in, because they can be, like this one is folded out a little bit. You can see that it actually fits in like that. But they end up nice and parallel to each other, facing each other. So that's that. We can flip these things around. I actually got those back. I did Cheetor's legs slightly wrong in my video, someone pointed out. And it's because I forgot to, you know, you have to flip them out and then rotate them 180 degrees and then flip them back together so that these things end up on the back. In this case, they just have them as separate rotating parts, so you don't have to screw around with the hips to flip them around. So we're going to take both of these and rotate them, and then we can unfold the main transformation joint that's kind of a knee joint, just to get them out of the way. There are slots in the insides of the thighs and tabs in the crotch, and we're just aiming those at each other, so it helps you get it lined up properly. And then these two tabs nest in together, and that's how you do the thighs. So then we're gonna flip out the leg. It doesn't really lock in, but I mean, it's stable in robot mode, but they're not trying super hard to make it stable. But you can flip these out. And then there's, I try to show it as best I could in the video, but there's a movement here. And we just wanna, it pushes in and you might hear a click, but there is kind of a second click when it kind of locks onto, there's like a ridge down there that it kind of lines up with. I think just to make it lock and be stable. So we're bringing it in, bringing it in. And then these kind of go, it's hard to line them up ahead of time, but later on when we put the panels of the Tigatron, the slots that you can see here, and here are going to be important. We'll get to that in a minute. So we can take this and flip it up, and we can just go ahead and rotate it down to the bottom. It helps if you don't flip it up all the way. We can also take the knee pad and put it down there. I'm just going to do the same thing over here real quick. Knee pad down there. And then we can take this. I'm going back to robot mode, so I'll get into those details in the other direction. You can rotate it one way only. So one way it'll get stuck. It's a real pain in the ass when you're doing stop motion to remember which way without having to just do it. But there's one way where you can actually get it over 180 degrees. So that's the direction we want to go in. I need to bring the, it's such a white figure, I need to bring the, I need to bring the color down. And where is that thing? There it is. We're already at -10, jeez. Bringing it down to -11. See if you can see the joints actually in these white pieces. So this folds out, and it's got a little bit of a hinge here that you're going to take advantage of, but for now we just want it wide open. And this folds over the leg here, and you can actually bring it all the way down to there, and then when you fold this closed, this tab kind of interacts with this notch that's in the leg, but it doesn't really tab in very well. So you have to kind of constantly like put it back where it's supposed to be. They could have made it tab maybe, but I'm not any kind of genius engineer, so I don't know. I need to do it on the other side, so I'm just going to do it without too much commentary. Okay. And then the legs have to be the other way, so this is a good opportunity to flip them over now that we're going to work on the other side of them. And what we're going to do is we can go ahead and do the feet. So I'm going to flip out the tiger foot, if I can get a grip on it. You can kind of catch the little pad, but that flips out like this and then rotates around, and then the heel spur gets put away. So same over here. Flip it out, turn it around, put the heel spur down. Then we're going to open up these panels. One way you can get a purchase on them is you can just push from the inside to the outside just a little bit so the panel starts to overlap, and then you can kind of catch it. There's lots of different ways you can get that panel open, but that's just what I tend to do. I pull it slightly towards me and flex it towards me, and then I can grab it. I thought this was really clever, but this whole like ornamentation on the front, you kind of fold it up like this, and then you fold at this transformation joint. Kind of nests in there, and then you can close the back of the leg, and it really gives you a properly shaped tiger leg for the back, although it looks like he's wearing like a weird teal ankle bracelet. Do the same thing over here, and then we close the panel. So at this point we're done with the legs for the most part. We do have to turn the waist around 180 degrees, and right now is a good enough time to do that. Just make sure you get it nice and square, because it's going to come into play in a minute. And now we're going to do the panels. So we separate the legs. We'll go into how they pin together when I go the other direction, but suffice to say we separate them. And then we can flip out the tiger tail. It's a double joint here. You do have to be careful which one you do first. You want to do the distal one and then the proximal one. But what I'm saying is you want to unfold the one furthest from the root of the tail, closest to the tip, and then you can unfold the other one. And you can rotate it whatever direction. You can have his tail kind of droop down, or you can have his tail be more perky or whatever. All right, so then this flips up out of the way. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this. It does tab, so let me explain this. It took me a minute to realize this. So I'm going to get my finger behind this, and I'm going to shove it out. And what you can see here is that there is a tab on this, and it does tab into a slot on the tail, and then you can lower the thing into position. So just keep that in mind. Going this direction, you only have to know the tab's there, but I guess I'll have to mention it again, go into robot mode, because I am going to robot mode. I keep forgetting. So that kind of splays out there. You just make sure it's flat, clicks into position. And then there's two tabs here and two holes in the back of these rotating bits, which is why you have to make sure they're square. Like that they actually have kind of a click point. But you just want to get the tab into that tab hole on both sides. There we go. And then these tabs go into those green slots that I mentioned. So to get them lined up, I just bring it down. There's like a little bit of a tab here you need to get inside there, and then to get it to tab into the leg, you just have to have that leg rotated the right way. That one went right in, so maybe this one will be our example. Or maybe I got them both perfect. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah, so it's not lined up right now. So what I have to do is manipulate that joint until it's lined up, and it just tabs in lightly. And now the legs are kind of fixed in that position. You could probably untab them and give you a little more articulation on the tiger legs, but that's kind of the reason they have that weird extra joint in the knee, is so that the tiger leg can splay out without affecting that tab joint. I would have preferred to see them not have a hinge there at all, and just not tab this in, and just let this piece slide, like let the tiger's hips be the knee joint. Nobody asked me. So now that all that's in position, now we can put the head away, and the head does kind of tab in. So there's, I'll just move something out of the way here. In front of this green bit here, there's a little bit of a ridge there. And this tab that you use when you go to lion mode actually serves a dual purpose. And so when you raise the head up, that tab can actually catch in front of that green piece. And that locks the head assembly into place. And then, you know, it's up to you. You can lower the head. I think it's meant to be like this because it at least kind of still fills when the tiger's looking up. But when the tiger's looking straight forward, you end up with a bit of a gap there. So it's up to you how you want to arrange the tiger head. But at least in this position, you get a little bit of that the turning the head. All right, so it's time to put the arms away. Not too bad. It's just, this is where most of the panels are. And we can discuss proper alignment of the arms so that they go away properly. So you're basically rotating straight up at this joint. There's a lot of this, but it's just butterfly. It's just mobility joints for the robot mode. You basically just want that at 90 degrees. And then the arm, and let me just put the gut gun in just to kind of give us a landing spot. But basically the arm needs to go in here, and I like to angle the hand, and it helps to bend it a little bit. But I like to angle the hand at like 45 degrees. It just keeps it completely out of the way. The elbow joint, you pretty much want that to be flat. But as you tab everything together, I'm sure it, you know, twists the joint where it needs to be. But we're just kind of starting flat. Then we do this one. Just rotating the hand kind of backwards. But you don't have to manipulate the elbow joint a lot. It's pretty much like in the position that it's in robot mode. You just want to be able to see all the screws. And then the arms can both kind of shift because of the double butterfly joint there. They can kind of shift up and down. The way you know you're lined up is when you go to start to put these together. And let me just get this hand backwards the way it's supposed to be. Just trying to bend the hand a little bit. So they do want to be like this, but when you start to bring these together, they should kind of encapsulate the gut gun and the two hinges for the gun. I think those are actually the hinges where it opens up. Yeah, the opening hinges, they actually fit into the two notches in the belly. And so that's the alignment we're looking for. But first we need to get these panels here. They can be a little scary. I think he comes packaged in robot mode, so just be aware that the last movement of this joint, there's a little bit of a flat spot on that that articulation armature, and you just want to make sure that you just get lined up like this. Put your thumb on the hinge and just kind of pull it until it pops. But that's how it gets lined up at that point. And then we can start putting these together. It helps to kind of flex them down and then let them flex up to catch the bits. But they'll fight you a little bit until you get everything lined up. Just be aware of them. These, I put them purposefully at that point in the transformation because I constantly forgot them. And this moment is like one of the last moments you can actually get your finger in there to pull them up. But you're just pulling those panels up. And then this opens up. And what you have to do is, you see there's two tabs here, I think. Basically two tabs pointing this way at the moment and one tab pointing the other way. You just want to make sure you're grabbing that. So you don't want the panel to fall inside the tiger. You want to make sure that as you fold this over, you keep this straight and get that tab that's supposed to be in front to fall in front. and then you can go the rest of the way with it. Just pull it down a little bit. Make sure you don't pull on this stupid part but you need to get this. It's such a pain in the ass sometimes. But there's a, thank you. There's a tab here. This one goes behind the flat piece, and this one goes in front. And so as you get this into position, you want to make sure that it actually goes behind it, and then, you know, tab it all back together again. It's a bit of a fight until you get it there. And then on this side, we're going to try to do this a little smoother. So I'm just making sure this is all the way up, because otherwise it'll get caught. I want to make sure this tab ends up in front the way it's supposed to, and then in behind this the way it's supposed to. And the whole thing, I think there's some asymmetry or some, you know, slightly distorted mold. So one of these doesn't quite want to line up all the way. But that's basically what it's supposed to look like. See, there's a little bit of a gap here. On this side, there's less of a gap there, but it still exists because limitations, physics, baby. All right. So then these are a bit of a puzzle, but basically you come up to 90 degrees here. We're going to rotate this vertically, and then we can rotate this 180 degrees where it passes through. And then we go the rest of the way, we turn it this way, we go the rest of the way up. And when we bring this, and we can turn it around 180, but when we bring this leg down, this like the leg is here, and then this thing is also moving. It's not real clear like where the correct alignment position is for it, but you're basically just trying to get this tab into that big hole. Also, the head popped loose. I moved him, so I need to make sure I re-snap that joint. There we go. So it's square. So you can manipulate, don't worry about the actual leg joint, you're manipulating the other joint, the whole thing, but you're just trying to get it to line up with the hole, and you want it to line up with the other chest piece, and it'll pop loose easily. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite lock in. We're going to do the same thing over here, so we're just going to rotate this, bring this up, flip this over, and then bring it up the rest of the way, however you want to, and then make sure it's on the inside. We'll just get the head out of the way and start to close this one down. Make sure the tab goes in. Make sure this tab between these two parts goes together, and then you can move that joint. Remember, not the leg joint, the other joint. But you can move that joint a little bit to make them made up better. So the tiger legs also have like an indent that's supposed to allow for that hinge sticking out. So you want to bend the front legs slightly, and with the legs in position, they can actually kind of help you a little bit. But it kind of goes together like that. And then one of the first steps is to like flip the feet around. So one of the last steps is to put the feet back. Then you line up his back legs so his feet are going to be planted, and arrange his tail however you want. And it's a pretty passable tiger. Decent tiger. How's everything going, everybody? Just going to have a little sip of my drink. Shark says, hey, we're officially halfway through to MP. Yeah, in fact, the next figure is MP-51 RC, which I hope will come out soon, because I'm looking forward to getting that one. Oh, also, when you go to Tiger mode, you can flip this up, but you don't have to. Ah! But these little eyeballs turn around, and from what I understand, in Tiger mode, they're supposed to be the green eyeballs. You've got to go farther than you think you do before the pupil shows up, but you can kind of manipulate it around. So green eyes for the tiger. You can also easily manipulate them without now it's gonna make me a liar. I mean, it's a little easier with your finger, but you can do your fine tuning with like a spudger. Tiger. So we'll go back to robot mode. Some of it's a little easier because you're just kind of unstitching them, which is easier than getting them to stitch. So we're going to make sure we spread the legs open, and I don't want to pull the legs have like that hinge on them. But I want to make sure I'm pulling, so I'm going to pull like right here on these armatures just to get them to split. And we just go all the way up. Now it's interesting, I didn't realize this before I shot because I noticed the tabs, but I thought, oh, they screwed up because they didn't do it right. But let me show you something. We're just going to flip the feet over. Get the legs out of the way for the moment because I need to manipulate these things. So we go to this position, step 1, and we flip it over. It's easier if I go up. So let's see if you can get you a good view of that. So that's where you want to land. So all we did was we just moved up. And then we can flip this over. And as we do, we can make sure that it lands there. And then you can rotate it like that. And the general idea is that it ends up there. But I'll show you where it tabs actually. It actually tabs, which is kind of cool. But we're just flipping this around. So that's out of the way. And now we're going to do the flanks. Going to start untabbing these things. It's you just have to make sure that you push down in lift away from the seam and push down at the seam to get them to split safely. We can split them both, but the bottom one, no, the bottom one's not going to come just yet, but we're just loosening everything. So we're going to fold this down and just be aware that there's like a pin, like a peg that goes into this part of the hip assembly. So we just want to make sure that we move this thing away from that so the peg doesn't get stuck in it. But we're just trying to safely fold it. And you see that tab will kind of pop. So this is on the inside now. No big deal because we're just in the process of folding it up. But just be aware of it. And we can get rid of this while we're here. Just push it in. So we do the same thing on the other side. Just want to make sure we don't try to fold at this joint too aggressively, knowing that we have a little pin there that needs to come loose. We fold that up and we get rid of that. And then things are coming a lot looser now, so we can go ahead and get the bottom joint separated. We're just splitting these open. And remember, this joint is a little stiff, so we are just we want to make sure that this is not completely engaged like this. We want to kind of start overlapping, but then you can pop it like 45 degrees, and then it just articulates. You can see the articulation link. So it kind of tabs into itself. So we're going to do the same thing over here. We're just going to make sure that these tabs, it's kind of sticking out now, and then we can bend it and articulate it. And then it's just a matter of pulling the arms, rotating the arms out and getting them out of the way, and getting the gut gun out of the way. We can go ahead and transform it while we're here. I try to be kind of furtive about it because you know what that looks like. All right, and then with all this stuff out of the way, we want to around to this side. So what we're going to do is, we can go ahead and pull this up a little bit, but we want to untab these, the little tab there, and flip them up. And then we want to untab right there. Remember, the back of this joint has the hole on it. And then folding this tiger thing, it might seem really stiff. What you want to do is make sure you kind of push it the other way and then fold the furthest away joint, and the whole thing folds over easily at that point. So just be aware of that. And then we need to loosen this. We need to get the head completely out of the way. We need to pop this loose. It tabs in. It's kind of hard to show you, but there's a little bit of a slot that's created by these two layers that were put together. Anyway, you flip the whole thing, hyperextend it so that you can see and control the tab, and we're just tabbing that into a slot in the piece. And then where I missed a step going to tiger mode, there's like this tiny little, and I show it in the video, but there's this tiny little tab that flips up. You want to have that flipped up for robot mode, because it kind of engages. It doesn't really catch it real good, but it's there. And then the tail folds down. You just want to make sure it's rotated the right way, this way. And then you might want to think that, oh, I'm going to put the tail like straight up and down like that, but you actually need to get it out of the way a little bit. So it needs to flop over this direction. This leg has the tab, and so that's the first one that's going to go in. And it's pretty much straight. So you're bringing it in, you fold the joint maybe a little bit, but you're just bringing it in. You're trying to get that tab as close to the center line as you can. And what you'll notice here is this tab on the back of this thing will actually plug into this slot. Now on both legs the slot is the same, but this tab is different. So this one's not twisted a whole lot, and it just goes, you can fold it down. It kind of helps you align the leg, but it goes in. I think I need to rotate the big piece, that's it. But it actually does tab into the leg there. So that puts it away. And at that point you've locked the Tiger hip joint, shoulder joint, in the right place, and you can still manipulate the leg a little bit on the transformation joint there. And that's where you bring it into center line. But on the other one, that one has to kind of stick out at a wider angle to overlap the other leg. And sure enough, they make the tab for that at a much wider angle. It's in a different location. So we want to bring the leg around, and we just want to line that tab up with the hole. It doesn't go in as far into it as the other one does, but then we can rotate this joint around, and we're just lining up that, we're tabbing the two legs together. The legs don't tab together real hard, but you can see now why the tail had to be out of the way for this leg to sit lower the way it's supposed to. So there you have. For my purposes, I was just trying to do a big head reveal at the end, so I saved it. But for my purposes, I'm going to go ahead and put the head away now. So we're untabbing it from the beigeish piece. We want to fold this down and back up. And there's actually another tab hole here that the head tabs into. The head to tab, tab to tab, tab. And then tab into, and then the whole thing kind of goes in here. And you just have to move the lion head down. Remember, I moved it up for the thing. And it does kind of like, it has gaps that allow you to kind of fit it around the shoulder, but it doesn't really tab in per se. And then supposedly he's supposed to have his orange head out. So I'm just going to get the arms out of the way. So the legs, just doing them backwards. So we're going to flip the hips around. We can go ahead and flip these around. It doesn't matter when. You can go ahead and flip these around. It doesn't matter when. Just working our way down the leg. So the first thing we're going to do is, again, I pull it towards me so that I can catch the edge of it. We're going to flip that open, and you don't have to dig at that or anything for the most part. You just have to bend this joint down. It gets caught sometimes, but you know, when it goes in like that, comes out like that. We can go ahead and do the feet, and then we flip that down, and we can close this. We can bring this out and bring it around and encapsulate leg, and go ahead and flip it around the other way. Bring up the knee, bring around this ornament, and tab it in. It really kind of takes away from, it's a shame because they have this tab in, and now you don't have a forward back ankle tilt. But before you tab it in, you've got a really nice one. So they kind of missed on the articulation area. The legs do kind of tilt for a stance, but they don't go front and back very well. There's a little bit. It's like a front, but not a back. It's kind of a maximum amount. Anyways, remember you have to move the leg this way. I'm not indicating anything. You have to move the leg this way. This way. And so I'm just going to push on that joint as much as I can, and I want to pop it in this direction. And then you'll find that it folds smoothly. Just make sure you remember that joint when you're transforming them, or things won't line up properly. Lift this up. This one's going to come out in a graceful way. Do the foot. There we go. Close it. Flip this up, rotate it the only way it can rotate. There we go. And then this folds up. And it does tab in there. And then we want to pop this joint. So I'm just going to kind of jam my tip of my thumb into it to push it open. I'm going to fold it that way. We're going to bring this around and bring up the kneecap and la-di-da-di-da-di. Tab this in. And this one should be this way. And then we can untab where they join together, untab them from the hips, rotate the knee this way, and then flip them up. And then when we fix the head being popped out, another reason maybe to do the head last, because it won't quite stay in. Now we got one eye that's orange and one eye that's green. So I'm just going to chase it. Doesn't like to. There you go. So orange eyes for the tiger mode, for the robot mode. And this one's already gone. Catty Wumpus. Anyway, there he is. He's not perfect. He's got weak knees. I don't even trust him. I'm gonna take my chances, I guess. What's the worst that could happen? I have to buy him. There you go. We'll do some final discussion and then we'll sign off. I don't know, Attila. It's I assume computer aided design is a big help these days in making sure that things line up properly. It seems like Toy World, for example, is using computer aided design. There's all kinds of complexity, but they're like not discovering where things like rub together, like where you have clearance issues. So Toy World's like super complicated, but there's clearance issues, so they kind of failed. Takara tends to avoid clearance issues. I can't think if there's any on this one. Not really. Everything does what it's supposed to. Oh, sure, yeah. Unique Toys is like sine qua non when it comes to elegance. But I still like the Takara design, and I like the Takara paint and the Takara, just the finish. I mean, everyone has complaints about things. I'm sure someone's going to be like, you're a fool for liking Takara. But I like Takara just fine. And sometimes they're the final word on a figure. I don't think anyone's going to do a better Tigatron anytime soon, but they can be a little funny. They can be a little, maybe some people might think of them as excessively complicated, because I wouldn't. I like complicated figures, but people criticize like MP-44 because of his high level of complexity. So, Takara is going to give you a complex figure with very, very few clearance issues, and a transformation, like little transformation tricks that you go, oh wow, that's cool. And I think that's kind of what you want out of a transforming figure, unless you're just posing it in robot mode and never touching it again, in which case, you're probably better off, hoping Hot Toys makes action figures of your favorite figures instead of screwing around with something that transforms. Well, that's it, gang. Not much to say. I got there and back in 40 minutes. Not too bad. I guess we'll do a little housekeeping. I ordered TS Source had a Ditka for sale. If you know what that is, but it's KFC toys version of. Am I talking out of my ass? Yeah, it's KFC toys. But Ditka is their version of I can't remember his name. It's a triple changer. Turns into a tank and a plane. Blitzwing. It's their version of Blitzwing, and he might be here in time for this weekend. I was playing around this week with Star Saber and also some of the other Transformers Prime First Edition figures, like Cliff Jumper and their Deluxe Megatron. So something like that is going to be shot this weekend. One of those things, depending on the shipping on Ditka. So everybody, if you celebrated, have a happy Thanksgiving, have a happy Turkey Day, and we'll talk to you again next Wednesday. I guess whatever I shoot this weekend is going to go to locals. So actually the video you can expect on YouTube this weekend is, we're finally going to get this transferred to YouTube, the smokescreen video that you can watch right now if you want to by going over to locals and signing up and watching the free video. Locals.com, plusdrew.locals.com. Everyone have a good Thanksgiving, a good weekend, and we'll talk to you again later. Bye.